Good morning guys, this is Katie and welcome to another day of Vlogmas. So Callum and I were talking and we realised that we had been in the city now for just over a year. So we actually moved here at the end of last November. So we've learnt a lot, and today for today's Vlogmas video I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about the things we've learnt after living in Chicago and America for a year now. So let's get stuck in. But first coffee. So, of course, the first thing we have to talk about is the weather. It's cold. And just to give you kind of a bit of background if you're new here, my husband and I are from the UK, hence the accent, but we also then lived in China and Bangkok in Thailand for 4 years. So we were not used to the cold. And the weathers in Chicago are extreme. So summer is really warm and it's lovely. Like everything happens in the summer. Festivals are here, tourists are here. It's a really busy, fun city. There's literally, something to do every day if you wanted to. We found ourselves just having so much going on in the summer, and it was great. Winter, it's cold. And actually we were here last Christmas and we were told it was a mild Christmas, and I thought people were being silly. It's true, it's so much colder this year. And it's only December, so it's just going to get colder in January and February. So the extreme weather is not something I'm used to, but it is something I've learned. So if you are moving here, don't underestimate it. So I'm just going down to the shop, it's like a 3-4 minute walk away, and I'm putting all my layers on because I wasn't doing this at the start. When it first started getting cold, I wasn't putting all my layers on, and of course I got sick pretty quickly. So put your layers on, wrap up warm, get proper clothes. We got proper thick coats and things like that, and wear layers as much as possible. Yeah, the weather is the first big difference and the first thing we learned about the city when we moved here. So, Jen and I talk about the people next. I always feel like it's awkward talking about what people are like in different places. So, Chicago, I feel like it's kind of a mixed bag. And I feel like a lot of people would say this isn't me just being rude. I think a lot of people are if you encounter someone and they're working, they're really friendly. Most of the time people do their job really well. But you also do get people who are a bit standoffish, especially if you're walking downtown in on a busy morning. You get people who are a little standoffish and a little rude, but I think it's very typical of London as well. So obviously we grew up near London, so it's very similar to that. So another thing we've learned about Chicago is the neighborhoods are key. So we actually live in the downtown area, and it's great for during the week because we can get to and from school easily, but also there's lots going on, the bars are open, all that stuff. But on the weekend everything closes and there's no one around. So it's kind of a weird experience here where wherever we've lived before, on the weekend for a night out, people would go into the city, into the downtown area for a night out. But here people leave it. They go to the neighborhoods, they go to Wrigley, they go to West Loop, they go to all the different neighborhoods where all the bars are at that are open on the weekends, because in downtown a lot closes. Another weekend, another Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And that is something I've noticed here, to be fair, is there really is a Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks on every corner. And that kind of goes, it's not just in Chicago. Whenever we've traveled, that's the same as well. But food is such a big thing here in Chicago, and I'm not really talking about Dunkin' Donuts when I say that. When we first moved here, everyone was when we were talking about where to eat, or what to do even, people would just name random restaurants to us. So I think that's such a big culture here, is going out and eating and going to the different pizza places and hot dog places, and whether you should go to Gino's East or you should go to what's the other one, Illuminati's, that's the deep dish pizza we like. And then like for hot dogs, there's so many different Chicago style hot dogs and stuff that you can try here. And that's something that's really popular here, is just going out, having some food, and then going to sports and stuff like that. So yeah, food is life in Chicago. Right, have food. I'm just literally doing the dishwasher now. It's one thing I do love about living in Chicago is the dishwasher. There's obviously more than that, but we didn't have a dishwasher in Thailand or China. So, and I hate dishes. It's one of those chores I just hate doing. So it's great to have one. But something I did want to talk about was just like the social side of living here in Chicago. So I mentioned it before when I was talking about the weather, but I feel like here there is so much to do throughout the year in general, and I think that's one of the things that's like the biggest pro to living in Chicago itself. And I know that there's lots of stuff going on all across the country too, but like in Chicago where we are, we live downtown. United Center's not far, and so is White Sox. Like White Sox isn't too far away from us. So when there's like sports on, there's plenty for us to go and see in the way of sports. And Chicago is one of the few cities that have at least one team of every sport. So there's 2 baseball teams, 1 NFL, 1 hockey, 1 basketball. So throughout the year, even in the winter, there's stuff to see and do. And there's also concerts that come here and stuff like that. I know, I think this week just gone there's like, they do this Twisted Christmas thing where there's like different bands that play. We actually went last year and saw the Black Keys, but this year there was a few different bands on as well. So yeah, like there's always something to do here. And I think the social side of living in Chicago is definitely a plus. And like I said, whether it's a concert, whether it's a festival, whether it's an event, and actually even in the winter, like summer is better because there's just so much going on. Like in the summer this year, you have like your big music festivals, but we also loved going to like the, what's it called? The car racing. There's actually a name for this. There's a big car race that happened through Chicago. I love that. And we got to see the Chainsmokers in concert there. We got to go to, they obviously have like all the big food festivals and stuff here as well during the summer. But in the winter, there's just as much stuff. That a lot of it is like indoors, so it's your sports and stuff like that. And then in the winter, there isn't as much, but there's still lots going on. So you have concerts and sports. But you also have a lot of like festive things. So you have like the Millennium Park have a huge Christmas tree that you can go and see. Magnificent Mile have all their Christmas lights up. Macy's is decked out for Christmas. There are plenty of like Christmas festivals going on. There's plenty of Christmas bars opening. There's also like a place, it's not far from us actually, we probably should go, like the it's like a pop-up place. They have one for Halloween as well. It's Jack-o'-lantern, something like that. So there's lots and lots of like festive stuff going on, which is cool. Like we didn't get that type of stuff in Thailand or China because they don't celebrate Christmas as much. So it's cool having all of that available. So yeah, social side is a win for Chicago. Right, it is a little while later. I've been doing some work and I've also ordered an Instacart delivery, so it's almost here. It's like 15 minutes away, which kind of brings me on to the next thing I've learned about Chicago and America in general, the cost of living. Now, what's going on? Like, I feel like we came to America, I mean, okay, it was like 10 years ago. We did like a big tour of America, and I feel like it was way cheaper. And I know that like 10 years is a long time for like inflation to happen, but people who I work with, a lot of people like just from like 2 years ago, everything's really expensive, and it is. And I think like for us, we used to live in Thailand where you could pick up a meal from like a street vendor for like $1. So here, spending like $6 on, like, I mean, barely anything. Like we've just ordered our Instacart and we picked up 2 soups, and the soups are like $3.50 each or something ridiculous. Like, I feel like cost of living here is really high, and I don't know how much it matches up with wages really. I feel like, I don't know how people can save here. And if I'm honest, like, and this is gonna be me being like completely transparent, we moved here with the idea of like trying to live here for like the next 5, 10, 15 years. And like just based on cost of living alone, I just don't feel like for us it's just doable because it's just so expensive here that like we can afford to live here, but we can't afford to save anything. And granted, I also appreciate that we do go to a lot of wrestling and we do quite a bit of traveling, and there are definitely ways that we could save money here, but it is expensive here. Like the food prices here is just expensive, and a lot of people talk about that here. So I think cost of living is definitely something to adjust to moving here, and it's something that I've definitely learnt about here, is just everything is more expensive than you think it will be. And then obviously you have the tax on top. In the UK, when you buy something, the price at the till is the counter is the same price as what it was on, like, you know, when you saw the sign for it. Here it doesn't include tax, so that is also something to take into account if you're visiting America or moving to America. It's just everything doesn't actually include the tax, so then you have to like add that fee in as well. So we have our Instacart arriving. We always use Instacart. I'll be honest, one of the things I have also learned about living in Chicago is that parking and having a car is really more for the suburbs. So if you're living like in the downtown area or even some of the neighborhoods, finding parking is hard. But it's not even just about finding parking, it's also just an extra expense that you don't need here. And public transportation is so reliable that, I mean, it's pretty decent. I'll talk about that in a minute, but like generally speaking, if you're living downtown, you don't need a car, and I just wouldn't recommend it. We haven't really needed one since being here. Right, so shopping has been picked up, post has been picked up. We had a few bits from Amazon. That is another convenience actually that I do like about living in Chicago, is like Amazon Prime is here. Wasn't in Thailand or China. But yeah, you can get things really quickly and easily here between Instacart, like Uber Eats, DoorDash, like whether it's food, groceries, or just random stuff from Amazon, you can get it here pretty quickly, which I guess is a benefit of living in the city. Right, it is lunchtime, and today we are having broccoli cheddar soup. This is like super easy, just heat it up on the hob. Right, I am now in my walk-in wardrobe and I'm recording, ready for Creative Travel Guide. I mentioned this in a video last week, I think. My husband and I run Creative Travel Guide, a YouTube channel, and we do like voiceover style videos. So I like research, write out a script and then record it. So that is what I'm doing now. Yeah, I guess that kind of leads me on to another thing about Chicago and just about the US in general. Is one of the things we do like about living in America is how big the country is. So you can do a lot of traveling here, and like we've rented a car a few times and gone on some really cool road trips, often to do with wrestling because we love wrestling. So we go to like WrestleMania and SummerSlam, and they've been some really cool trips. But also like you have really cool like big cities, but then you have some more quieter, lesser known places. So one of our favorite places is in Lancaster in Pennsylvania. There's like a big Amish community there, and we also went to the Amish community in Berlin in Ohio as well. They were both really unique, fun experiences. We are actually going to be going to Vegas in a few months time for WrestleMania, and I'm really excited for that. We have been before. It's actually where we got engaged like 10 years ago, but I'm really excited to go back. We haven't been for 10 years, so that should be really good fun. So I guess for me, like, especially considering we run like a travel blog, it's cool that there's so many travel experiences and opportunities here. I like how easy and convenient travel is here. A lot of the time you can get you can do a road trip. But yeah, I guess travel is something that we have learnt more about here and just like enjoyed a lot, so that's good. Known for its historic sites and beautiful coastline, Croatia offers a lot for visitors. So firstly, let's look at the best time to visit. Oh, hi guys, it's been a few hours. I'll be honest, I spent the day working, chilling out with Callum, and I also just had a nice hot bath, which was really nice. We have just ordered some dinner, so we've ordered some Nando's, which I love. Nando's is like a chain. We have it in the UK, which is why I love it, and they do it here, which is great. So we're having that for dinner, and then we're gonna watch something rubbish on TV most likely, and then yeah, just chill out for the evening. So there's a few things obviously that we've talked about today that we love about Chicago and things that we've learned about Chicago. One thing I kind of wanted to mention as well is like tomorrow we're looking at going to the, it's either tomorrow or the next day, we're looking at going to the zoo lights at Lincoln Park, and from where we live we can get a train there and back like no problem, and it's not too far, like the stop isn't too far away from the zoo lights. So I feel like getting around the city is really easy. And I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about like getting Instacart and not having a car, is that I think like the transportation in the city, it's fairly reliable, it's fairly easy, there's a lot of trains that kind of take you everywhere. And the main thing I guess really is just don't, like a lot of people suggest that you don't get on the trains by yourself late at night, just from a safety aspect. But generally speaking, like the transportation around the city is fairly easy. So that is another thing that we've learned about the city as well. Right, so Nando's is here. We're going to tuck into that, but I just wanted to kind of sign off and say thank you for watching and following along for the Vlogmas this year. I think in a few days time I'm going to wrap up all my gifts and do like a Q&A. So if you have any questions about living in Chicago or living in America and visas and all that stuff, then let me know, leave a comment, whatever, and I will answer some of those in like a wrap and chat. But yeah, I think we've learned a lot living here in Chicago. It's definitely a different experience to living in Asia, and it's a fun place to live for sure. There's so much to do, so much to see. So we shall see what the next year brings us. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I shall see you tomorrow for another Vlogmas. Bye guys.